I'm Al Richmond, and I'm chairman of the Cariboo Regional District, and I'd like to thank you for coming today. This is the second annual Orange Shirt Day we've had in the South Cariboo. Last year, you might remember, we all gathered in a very tight quarters in the 100 Mile Elementary School and had a really good event. So thank you for coming out, and the sun has cooperated, the clouds have parted, and we're doing well. Elder Shirley David will be doing a smudging ceremony for those who wish to have smudging. Smudging is a purification ceremony using sage and juniper tobacco, which washes a person's spirit and helps people let things go. There'll also be a memory box provided by Mary Thomas, and a memory box is for you to write the name. That's for a place for you to write down the name of someone you want to remember, and it's placed in that box, and then later at a sweat lodge ceremony, those papers are burned, but it's an opportunity for you to write down the name of someone special that you want to remember. The Indian Residential School Survivors Society will be providing mental health support during the ceremony if you need it, and those folks are right there at this first table. Traditional ties will be offered as gifts, and our Director Sorley hand a little orange tie to some of our speakers, and these have been made by the committee members and putting their prayers and positive thoughts into their making. Those receiving the ties traditionally burn them or sleep with them under their pillow while adding prayers and positive thoughts for the person who made them. The ties are also happen to be an exact color of Phyllis Webstad's shirt. Please, a warm welcome for Chief Mike Archie.
Good afternoon. So we know glad as well. Cook pick as well and squaxed. It's casking I stack one. It's a real honor to come out here and do the welcome today. It's real good to see the students here. You know, in our language we say my weight clean poops when it makes my heart glad. You know, tikal cook pick cook stem stakuchte. Okay, so smastem tikal cook pick cook stem cook stakuchte okay aus. Tikal koekpie koekstem, stachoeg de kiegelijk uit, tikal koekpie koekstem. Koekstachoeg de gepaarlijk ja. Tikal koekpie koekstem, stachoeg de meer. Tikal koekpie koekstem, koekstachoeg de sausage, zoals West. Tikal koekpie. Koekstem, stachoeg de skepken. Het is oestensen. Het is kelg, het is poesman. Het is kocht, tikal koekpie. Thank you today, Creator, for the safe passage through the night and try to use my language a little as much as possible because that's something that's really important to today's event, and I just want to take this time to say, you know, it's welcome, and it's very heartwarming to be here today and for the purpose of the residential school survivors and the students especially. You know, I have prepared a few short things on a piece of paper, and I like to speak from the heart, and there's a lot of things to be grateful for today, and especially with the Canam Lake Band and in doing the welcome, so that that things go right today, and offer that prayer, in our language, and thanking them, our mothers and our fathers and our grannies and our grandpas, and give thanks for our head and our eyes, ears, nose, mouth, and our feet, and give thanks for the sun that shines and all the food that we have today. And that's basically what I was translating with my in the language, and welcome you here today to the traditional territory of Canam Lake Band. About 600 members and about 53% live off reserve. And some of the comments with the residential school that opened in 1876, and the last one closed in 1996, and we had 150,000 students that went through residential school. During that time, about 4,000 members passed away. And June 11th in 2008, the Prime Minister Harper did an apology on behalf of the government and some of the as well as some of the leaders in the House of Commons, and I was sitting at the First Nations Summit table at that time and listening to the apology. And from there, in 2008, they did a residential school Truth and Reconciliation. It was formed to gather statements from students and to uncover the truth about residential schools and the impact of language and culture as our children were taken away from the communities and from families. And in 1884, the attendance to residential school became law. for children under 16 years old, and children were forcibly removed from the communities, and there were threats of fines and imprisonment for those that didn't comply. And in 1940, there was also the introduction of the family allowance, and that was kind of like used to if they didn't comply with going to school, that those things would be held back. And it wasn't until 1948 that the compulsory law for attending school ended. And in 1950s, the residential schools were underfunded, and there were also some nutritional tests that were done on some of our students in the schools. And in 1969, Department of Indian Affairs took over the residential schools, sole control of the residential schools. In 1996, the last residential school closed. And in September 2007, there was a settlement package offered. And there was also an AIP, independent assessment process, that was introduced, and deadline in 2012 and 4 years to complete that. You hear the words out on the street is like the collective souls wound, where a lot of our students that attended residential school have experienced the post-traumatic stress disorder and depression and other areas like that. So this, after many years of our community struggling and healing and working towards a healing process, that we gather here today to honor our students that have gone on to or survived residential school, and many of those that didn't. And it's really heartwarming, so I say, to see the children that we learn from our histories, and that we never let it repeat itself. And it's really great that we have the support here from CRD and the mayor and school district, because we need to develop those curriculums to educate our society. And thank you for allowing me a few minutes to do the introduction. And I really appreciate today looking out and seeing the young children here, and especially from Mike Archie Memorial School, and our elders that are sitting here that carry the language and take that time to come out. Not afraid of the weather. It's like, if it rains, it rains. It's okay. People might say, well, we get all wet and worry about the weather, but in reality and in essence, when we look at our residential school students and having to go out and cut wood at 30, 40 below, a little bit of rain today is not going to hurt anybody. We gotta remember those things when we come to honor and give homage to our relatives that have gone through so much. So thank you very much, and hope you enjoy today. That's all my relations.
Thank you, Chief Mike. And at this time, I'd ask you for a moment of silence so we can remember those who didn't survive the residential school system, and those who have passed on. So just bow your heads for a moment of silence. Thank you. So this time, I'm going to invite Chief Mike Archie back on the stage, and they're going to have a drum ceremony. So, Chief Mike. So at this time, I'd like to call upon our MLA, Donna Barnett, to bring greetings from the province of British Columbia. MLA Barnett.
Thank you. And thank you to Chief Mike Archie and the Cannon Lake Band for welcoming us all here today on their traditional territory. I bring greetings from the Premier Christy Clark and the Government of British Columbia. And I thank Phyllis for having the courage to tell the story about her shirt. If Phyllis had not come forth and told her story, we may not be having this healing process for all First Nations who suffered undue consequences during the days of the residential school. So Phyllis, thank you. Thank you for the courage. And as I said in Williams Lake to the young people, to each and every one of you, do not be afraid. Do not be afraid to talk to anyone should you have someone do something to you that should never be done. So think of Phyllis when you're afraid. Think of her brave courage and the people that are around you that do love you and do care, because each and every one of you matters. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. And now I'd like to call upon Mayor of 100 Mile House, Mitch Campsell, for a few words. Mayor Campsell.
Thank you. You know, I'm looking at Phyllis, and I say, Phyllis, wow, because you were brave to tell your story. But this story's gone around the world. I've heard her story, and I still cry. And I'm ashamed. My forefathers were part of this. But I'm proud to be invited here. And I thank you. Thank you very much. It's such an honor to be here. When I think about how brave it was for Phyllis to tell her story, but did she ever think that it would go to this point? Phyllis, it's gone across Canada, big time. The First Nations have recognized Orange Shirt Day across Canada, not just in our own community. It started here, started in Williams Lake. And I don't think Phyllis ever, in her wildest dream, ever thought it would get to this point. But I'm proud to know, Phyllis. I'm proud to say that we are a healing country. We are a healing community. To see you kids here, to hear this story will stick in your heart. And this story, I believe, will go with you the rest of your life. But the better part about this story is you'll make sure it never happens again. You kids are our future. This information is given to you, so you make sure that we never, ever get into a situation like this ever again across this world. And I just appreciate the fact that you're here to listen, and it's just great to see you kids, and welcome to 100 Mile House. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Campsell. And now this time, the lady whose Orange Shirt story has actually gone international, and the websites followed near and far and near. The last email I saw on was someone from Wisconsin that was going to an Orange Shirt Day in Wisconsin today. So certainly, how about a warm welcome for Phyllis Webstad, the lady who had the courage to tell her story so you can learn. Phyllis.
My name is Phyllis Webstad, and I'm from the Strachem First Nation, Kennecrick Dog Creek, and it's that way towards the Fraser River. And I introduce my father, John Butt, and my mother is Shuswap Rose. She's from Dog Creek, Kennecrick also. And I grew up with my grandmother on the Dog Creek Reserve for the first 10 years of my life, and then I went to live with my aunt, Agnes, after that. And I've gotten to know my father since I was 21, so I'm very happy and honored to have him a part of this. So I asked him to stand with me. the orange story, or the orange shirt story, for my first day of school at the residential school, I just turned 6 in July, and we went back to school went to school in September, and it was an exciting time. You all know what it's like to be going to school. You get new clothes and school supplies and a lunch bag, and so it was no different with me. My grandmother bought me I remember it was shiny shirt. It was exciting, and just like I felt to be going to school. And the trip from Dog Creek to the residential school was about 2 hours. So getting on that bus all excited, not knowing what was going on, just that I was going to school. And to get there and to get off the bus, and they took my shirt, they took my clothes that my granny bought me, and all the other kids, they took their clothes, and we were all crying. We didn't know what was going on. They wouldn't give me back my shirt no matter how much I cried, and we didn't matter. It seemed nobody cared that we were crying or that we had feelings, and there was nobody there with these people that were running the mission or the residential school. There was nobody there on our behalf to fight for us. So we were there by ourselves, and so my shirt was taken, and I didn't know. I was only there 1 year, and I couldn't go back to Granny. I had to sleep there for 300 sleeps. Can you imagine that? 300 sleeps. You go to your friend's house and you sleep there for 300 times before you can go home. So that's what happened to me when my orange shirt was taken. So that, and it started last year in May of 2013 when we had our Truth and Reconciliation event. And I was asked to be their reunion spokesperson, because after the 5-day of events, we had a two-day reunion. We planned for food for 250 people. Over 1,200 showed up for our reunion. So even breaking the bannock in half didn't start to help that situation. But we were close to Williams Lake, and everybody got fed, and everything turned out okay. And so I'm just honored, and thank you, and I cannot say humbled and honored enough. And the last thing I wanted to say was there's 13 of us that went in my grandmother's family. My grandmother, her 10 children. So you can imagining saying goodbye to your 10 children. And my oldest, the oldest grandchild, Rose, and then myself. And there's something I was going to say and I forgot. But on the Facebook page, I was looking at it this morning, and there's must be an elder person. We were talking about that coming here, about what constitutes an elder. I was called an elder today, but I was also called a young person too. So, but this is what he wrote, and he said Mazi Cho at the end. So I'm thinking maybe Ontario that this comes from, but there's different shirts because we didn't want to rule or the shirts. People can put on them what they like, just as long as they have Every Child Matters, and preferably that they're orange. And so someone had designed a shirt with some feathers on it and some saying about being a residential school survivor. And this is what he had to say about that picture. It's a beautiful shirt. I'm a school veteran. I've never heard it called that before. Instead of a survivor, I'm a school veteran. And I don't think people really get how much this day matters. My tears have waited 40 years to fall, and all this outpouring of respect has healed a wounded warrior, talking about himself. Thanks to Phyllis for starting it. I'm in color tomorrow. I wear my shirt to feel whole. Masi Cho family. So I end with that, and I just thank you all for being here, and it's been an awesome day. Thank you.
Good afternoon. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Alana Dixon. I am the band administrator with Canham Lake Jazz Band, which is, according to me, this way. Phyllis came from that way. Today's theme is Every Child Matters. It's Orange Shirt Day. I want to first start thanking the organizers, the students for being here, the staff who brought the students, the general community, my community. I want to acknowledge my elders who are here today to recognize such an important historical event. As a third generation residential school student, I assumed that the history or the education of residential school was well known. Until last year, my niece, who was attending the Peter Skeen Ogden School, came home, and I think it was through social studies or First Nation studies. She was starting to learn about residential school, and she came home really upset. And she told her mom, who's my younger sister, "Why didn't you tell me that you attended residential school?" Because my youngest sister would have been the last one from our family group that attended residential school in Williams Lake before it closed. It was only then that I realized that as a family, we did not talk about attending the residential school in Williams Lake. There would have been 6 in my family, 6 siblings, and my mom and dad, my grandparents that attended residential school. My siblings and I were all taken to residential school at the tender age of 6, 5 or 6. My youngest was taken at 5. We stayed at residential school year-round, and we saw our parents only on the holidays of Christmas and summer break. Being taken from the comforts of home and family, put into dorms with similar aged children. There would have been 20 or 30 of us in one dormitory. We were marked juniors, intermediates, seniors. The juniors weren't allowed to go up and visit with the intermediate or the senior members. So I wasn't allowed to see my older siblings when I first arrived there at the age of 6, unless we were in a playground or in the cafeteria area. We learned fast, and I learned fast to get along with other students and learned the ground rules really fast. At the time when I attended, my father worked on ranches from 100 Mile to the Williams Lake Quesnel area. He helped build a lot of the ranches that still exist today. When I attended residential school, I didn't know there was a difference among First Nations, that there were Shuswap, that there were Chalcotin, that there were Carrier. So when I got there, I learned that quick, because the Shuswap stuck together, the Carrier stuck together, and the Chalcotin people stuck together. And we had to support each other. I attended residential school for 5 years before I was allowed to return home to my parents and continued to attend the school, the public school system. I've realized with the formation of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission hearings, the statement gatherings, I gave a statement last year on my experience, and it's going to be public. There are thousands and thousands of statements that are documented. I'm not too sure yet how those all are going to come out in the public. And my niece coming forward to ask, "Why did you not tell me?" That residential school history is important, and every child who attended matters. To this day, we still suffer the consequences or the harms of residential school. Our family units are getting stronger. Our adopted family units are getting stronger. Our culture is coming back. And you know, when I introduced myself, I said I was the band administrator. Although there were trauma associated with residential school, I think it gave me the base layer to be a leader, to be a proud Siouxwapin woman. I have 3 children, and every day trying to teach my children to go out into the world and speak up for yourself, to do good in the world, to do good in society. So with that, I leave you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Alana. So this time, with a great deal of pleasure, I'd like to invite the children from the Eliza Archie Memorial School to come up on the stage and perform for you. Something I think you'll find unique, enjoyable. So how about a warm round of applause for the students from the Eliza Archie Memorial School? How about a warm South Caribou welcome for Gary Felgard?
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Nice to see the sun shining. I've got a special song that I'd like to sing for you. I wrote this song after the federal government, in 2008, when the federal government made the apology to the First Nations for the residential schools, and I heard the apologies on the radio, on CBC radio, and listened to all the accounts from some of the survivors and victims and their families. And of course, my wife and I, we had to pull over to the side of the road and shed a few tears, and that night I wrote this song, and I realized that maybe this song speaks for a lot of people who don't know how to say, I'm sorry, or I apologize. So I'd like to speak for a lot of my generation, because it was my fault, it was our fault. And I'm going to be joined by, this will be a first for me, the magic of the drums too. And it'll be like a soft heartbeat in the background of this song. So it's like did I explain that well? Okay. I have this guilt, I have this shame, I have a conscience, so I have to take the blame. I stood back, I watched it all, I even helped imprison you behind those walls. No excuse is good enough. I never let you speak unless you mimicked us. I can't run, I can't hide. No, I can't even look you in the eye. No hollow prayer, no silent shout, no more empty words spilling from my mouth. You stripped away my thin disguise, and all that I can do is say I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought that God was on my side, and with my righteousness I'd tame the savage child. I would not have them running free. If they assimilate, they could be like me. How many can the wagons hold? Another 1,000 children, I suppose. It must have seemed like Judgment Day, the anguish as the wagons rolled away. I can't begin to know your pain. You can't forgive as long as memory remains. Through it all, you still survive, and all that I can do is say I'm sorry. I apologize. No hollow prayer, no silent shout, no more empty words spilling from my mouth. You stripped away my thin disguise, and all that I can do is say I'm sorry, choking on the words that say I'm sorry. I apologize. I apologize. I apologize.
So at this time, I'd like to call upon School District 27 Superintendent of Schools, Mark Thiessen, for a few words on behalf of School District 27, who are one of the funding partners for today's event.
Thank you, Chair Richmond. Quite an impressive day, and I just want to thank all of the teachers and the students who are here, the PSO students and others that are going now. Thank you for being here and for being such good listeners today. Yeah, applaud all of those wonderful students. Orange Shirt Day is about educating others so that people know about some things that happened in our country not that long ago. And that's why you're here today, and it sometimes feels like a longer afternoon or you're cold, but thank you for listening so well. A few years ago, I lived in a country called Rwanda for about a year and a half. And when we think about Rwanda, those of you who know about that country, we think about a country in our world where people were not treated the same as other people. One group of people thought they were more important than another group of people. And they have in the city that I lived in called Kigali, they have a genocide memorial museum that has elephants all around it. And the reason they have elephants all over in this memorial museum is because elephants have the story behind them that they have very good memories. And so elephants are there to remind people to never ever forget about something that happened in that country. The reason we have Orange Shirt Day in Canada is for a very similar reason, and it's a great tradition that we've started from Phyllis's story. And so when we have Orange Shirt Day, we think about the past, but we also want to think about the future. And we want to make sure that the stories you've heard today and some of the stories that you might hear from your teachers in future years or this year, that we make sure that something like residential schools where one group of people think they are more important or better than somebody else, that never happens again in our country and hopefully never anywhere else in the world. And so please remember that. School District 27, we're very proud that we are one of 3 districts in the province that is piloting a new residential schools resource that will be piloted in grade 5 classes and grade 10 classes, and there might be some teachers here that are doing that this year. We're hoping that will be a resource that will be adopted and used provincially in BC, and so we're on the cutting edge of that and proud to be involved in that. We're also working very hard to support the survival of the 3 languages, the 3 nations in our area, as well as the culture of those nations, working in and together with School District 27. So thank you again to the organizers. Thank you again to all the teachers and students who are here today. And again, thank you to Phyllis for her story.
I'd like to acknowledge some of the committee members, Joan Sorley, who's director for Area F, around 150 Mile, who chaired the committee. Director Wagner, who was on the committee as well. Of course, Phyllis Webstad, Ann Burrell from City of Williams Lake, and many others who worked hard to get this together. And if you want to be part of it next year, make sure you get in early, because they're always looking for people to give them a hand with this job. So truly, thank you for coming today. And it's only by understanding the past that we can move into the future and be sure events such as happen in residential schools never happen again in this country or any other country. So with that, turn it over to Jerome, and he's going to explain the activities for today, because I got it right this time.
All right. So we've been talking a lot about what's happened to children in the past and so on. And our idea was to try to finish it with a really positive thing. So today you've learned a lot about what happened to children in residential school. But what we need to remember is that the learning from today, when you heard some of the speakers speak, is to really make sure that every child feels like they matter, like they can make a difference in the world. That's what it's all about. Every child matters. So in your own minds, for adults, what can we do to make sure that every child feels like they matter? And for you students out there, what can you do to make sure that the other students around you, your friends and the other kids around you, adults around you, what can you do to make sure that every child feels like they matter? So last year we had lots of great examples of what children could do. So one student said, Well, you know, if I see they're not feeling very well, I can just go pat them on the back and tell them it's going to be okay. That way they'll know that I'm thinking about them. If someone's having trouble with their homework, hey, I can go help them. Just help them get that math problem done. That'll make them feel better. It'll feel like they matter. Those are the kinds of things you should be thinking about right now. So the activity we have today, we have these really cool poster boards that we're going to use today, that you guys are going to use today. You're going to use these today. It says Every Child Matters on it. It's all about Orange Shirt Day. So today, what you're going to do is put your hand on the board. We have some really cool colored felt pens, like that. You're going to trace around your hand, and you're going to put your name inside the hand. Just your first name, that's all you need, just your first name. And when you do that, what you're saying is, I'm going to make sure that every kid around me feels like they matter. I'm not going to put people down. I'm going to make sure people feel good about themselves, and so I'm going to help. Okay? So to organize this activity, so that's what you're going to be doing. There's about 5 or 6 tables over there where you're going to be doing this activity. The way we're going to do it is each of the teachers are going to take the students over, and you're going to kind of line them up there. We can probably have 4 or 5 students working on a board at a time. You're going to put your hand on there, draw around, put your name in it, and then when you give your felt pen back to the person organizing the table, you're going to get a BC Lions orange football. So we have one for each of you. We are hoping we have enough footballs. That's the big deal here. We hope we do. So it's raining. Teachers, get your kids organized. Line up on the far side of the tables, on that side of the tables. And thank you very much.
And don't forget, Chief Mike said getting wet wouldn't hurt us at all, so keep in mind. And he's not moving. He's standing right there in the rain.